Another year has passed, and I certainly hope it's been prosperous and profitable for you. But, guys, listen, be careful out there tonight. No drinking and driving. Enjoy yourself, but make sure you're back safe and sound, especially for tomorrow, because there's a lot of money to be made in college football. Not only that, but in the NFL playoffs coming up. Hi, everyone. Al DeMarco here, general manager of the world's largest online sports handicapping website in the world. And that, of course, is VegasSportsAdvisors.com. And each and every day, joining you here on Roku and over at VegasSportsAdvisors.com to give you my daily free selections, all backed by in-depth analysis, plus the insight that I have gained as a veteran of 20 years as being a professional handicapper, a gambler even before that, and before all that, as a former sports reporter for 8 years. So those experiences that I gained from covering teams, being on the locker room, being on the field, around players, coaches, managers, etc., that has shaped my career as a handicapper because I'm not looking at computer trends. I don't necessarily care that a team has covered 7 of its last 8 when they're wearing socks that have green stripes. Doesn't mean a hell of a lot to me. Nice little stats, but to me, I evaluate the talent. I look at the matchups. I look to see how teams pair up, strengths versus weaknesses, etc. And those things I exploit to my advantage. I've won 9 of the last 12 football seasons, and those are the things that I'll often talk about here on the Daily Video Report. And remember, if you ever miss it here, you can always get it for free. No strings attached over at VegasSportsAdvisors.com. Yesterday, the free play, how easy was the Golden State Warriors game last night against the Philadelphia 76ers? I told you I didn't care if you had to lay 20. I thought they could win by 40, and bingo. They won by 40. 35 and 22 roll with 2 pushes along the way over the past 3.5 weeks with your complimentary plays. Let's get started today by taking a look at the Fiesta Bowl clash between Arizona and Boise State. Now, just total disclosure, that happens to be my best bet today. I'll tell you how you can get it for free with no strings attached in just a moment. But the total is what I'm going to be isolating here. I'm looking at this number, and I'm seeing a 68 number, okay? Remember last year in the same game when you had Baylor getting upset by Central Florida, Blake Bortles, the big game, and that really sealed the deal for pushing him up the draft board a couple months later? I just don't see a 28-20 game here. Maybe at halftime. But listen, Rich Rod, we know how Rich Rod goes. Constantly pressing, constantly attacking, always being the aggressor. Both of these teams are dynamic offensively. And what I mean is they can both throw the ball and they both have strong run games. Now, is Arizona more the up-tempo team than Boise State is? Absolutely. But I do think Boise State's ground game might be a little more solid than Arizona's. Where I find, though, that you have to look in this particular game is the defenses for both teams. Yes, both can get after the quarterback. Both have some stout players. Boise State, a little stronger, especially when it comes to the number of takeaways and quarterback sacks. They registered this season, I believe, number 7 and 8th, respectively, in terms of teams in Division I ball this year. But then again, it came against Mountain West foes. You know, Pac-12, hell of a lot better than Mountain West foes. But both of these teams can be exploited and have been exploited repeatedly this season defensively. Listen, Arizona, last game against Oregon, Pac-12 championship. Ducks rang up 51. Now, again, Boise State doesn't run that type of up-tempo offense, and they're not quite as dynamic as the Oregon Ducks. But I just don't see this game staying under. I mean, I can easily see this game being 44-38. I just don't see it being 28-20. So if I had to play it any other way than what my best bet is, I would go ahead and take the game over the posted price. Now, your other games here tonight, the late night game, the last bowl game here on tap tonight, your Mississippi State contest. I got to be honest with you guys, I have no idea which way to tell you to go in that game against Georgia Tech. A lot of people will say, oh, well, Mississippi State has somewhat of an advantage because they were able to have 2-3 extra weeks to prepare for Georgia Tech's triple option attack. Easier said than done, as we have seen over the years when your opponent runs the option, okay? Just because you have extra weight doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to be able to stop them. But what I really question here with Mississippi State being a 6.5 to 7-point favorite is Mississippi State's motivation. Are they going to be up for this game after falling at the end of the season, costing themselves a Big Four opportunity, and then getting upset and stunned by arch rival Mississippi in the Egg Bowl? Is the motivation going to be there? We saw last night with Georgia, it certainly was against Louisville, but we've seen some other teams here certainly lay some eggs. Oklahoma, need I say more? So that's a very difficult game in that one. If I had to go someplace there, I'd probably go and actually tell you instead to look at the under 61, 62 and a half points. I think Mississippi State defensively can hold its own against that Georgia Tech option. And really, although Georgia Tech gave Florida State a run for its money in the ACC championship game, getting the backdoor cover with a touchdown with like 32 seconds to go in that contest, it was really more the fact that Florida State's defense has been so porous all season and Georgia Tech took advantage of it. This Mississippi State defense is not that porous. So if I had to go someplace there, I'd lean toward the under. But again, I like the over in the Arizona Boise State Fiesta Bowl clash more. Your early game, TCU, Mississippi, it is fairly priced in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome, with TCU being a 3-point choice. I lean a little toward the Horned Frogs in this particular game, mainly because of Boykin, their quarterback, mainly because of their offense, and also because I've never been a Bo Wallace fan. However, I will say to you this. Mississippi State, a team that I thought was a fraud all season long, did impress me and, of course, cost me money in the Egg Bowl since I had Miss State. I thought that was a game that, Ole Miss had pretty much written off its season after the losses to Auburn, to Arkansas, that this team I always thought was very fortunate to pull the stunning upset of Alabama earlier in the year. But they rallied, they played a great game, and they pulled the stunning upset. So there is a team that's motivated coming into the postseason, and Bo Wallace, final game, I believe, for the senior quarterback. Now, your college basketball free selection, guys, I'm going to go with the Temple Owls, plus the 7.5 to 8 points against UConn. It's not that I think Temple can win this game, but I just think that this is too generous of a post, and I've got to take advantage of it. Listen, it was just a week ago Monday that Temple pulled one of the biggest shockers of the season as a 7-point underdog playing at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Absolutely handed Bill Self his hat and everything else as they took the Kansas Jayhawks to the woodshed and rolled 77 to 52 in that contest as a 7 to 8 point underdog. But these Temple Owls, who have won 5 out of 6 games, have been bolstered. Fran Dunphy's team has acquired some depth because of some transfers. 2 Philadelphia guys who returned back home. One of them, Jesse Morgan, has been their leading scorer in their last game against Delaware State. A game that was a potential trap game, a potential sandwich spot. Still celebrating the Kansas win, looking ahead to tonight's game at Connecticut against the defending national champions. But they managed to win that game by 10 points. And Morgan, the former Massachusetts sharpshooter, who had 1 semester of eligibility after his transfer remaining, decided to choose the second semester rather than the first in case the Owls became postseason eligible. It seems like a wise choice at this particular point. The other guy is Devin Coleman, who formerly played at Clemson. And again, another Philly boy returning home to North Philadelphia to bolster the Owls, who suddenly have a sharpshooter that they've needed in the starting lineup with Morgan and suddenly have depth for Fran Dunphy's squad. This Connecticut team is not the same Connecticut team that won the championship last year. Now, they have played a much tougher schedule. They've lost, of course, to West Virginia, Texas, Duke, and Yale. How do you lose to Yale? Beyond comprehension as far as I'm concerned. But again, this is not about who's going to win the game straight up. It's about who's going to cover. And I think that Temple is simply getting too many points in this game. I can see Connecticut winning this one maybe by 4 or 5 points. But my goodness, guys, we're getting 7.5 to 8. Now, listen, if you'd like to get my best bet today, play that's every bit as strong as my winner last night on Stanford hammering Maryland, you can get it plus the plays of every single handicapper over at VegasSportsAdvisors.com today, absolutely free. It's over a $1,000 value. All you've got to do is go over to VegasSportsAdvisors.com, click on the 1-day free all-access pass. There's no strings attached. It's my way of letting you sample the wares of all the handicappers at the site, giving you a taste of their action, letting you see how they do for free. No strings attached. You don't want to do it today? Maybe you want to save it till tomorrow. It's your choice, guys. Again, check it out over at VegasSportsAdvisors.com. Again, happy early New Year to you, and I will be back here along with you tomorrow as we continue to make some more money in football. Good luck, everybody.